My name is Jillian and welcome to my video. This is the first video that I've ever made, so if I'm a little bit awkward, please overlook it. So currently, I'm just like everybody else. I'm stuck inside my house. I'm afraid, I'm bored, I'm confused, I'm feeling a lot of things. So I've decided that I want to start making videos, just kind of discussing like general feelings and general concerns that I think that most people are having right now, regarding this virus and regarding the shutdown. I work in social services. I'm a refugee case manager. So I actually work with refugees that just come to the country and help them get jobs and help them, get into English classes, learn how to pay rent, like just kind of surviving. And so my experience with like fully understanding situations where you don't have money for food and situations where you don't have money for rent. I've learned a lot from my clients and learned about how you can help yourself in situations where you have no money. So, and help stay sane when you're going through all this stress. So, I just want to jump right into it. What I wanted to talk to you guys, whoever's listening, about today is not being able to pay rent on time. Because for you people who have never been like struggling financially, just so you know, April 5th is like the real day that you have to pay rent. If you pay rent before or after April 5th, the 5th of the month, after the 5th of the month, you are gonna get like late fines, and they're gonna start the process typically of filing for like eviction. So, I'm sure there's a lot of people right now that have lost their jobs and haven't received any unemployment insurance yet, haven't found a new job yet, that are at their home and they've received, their email reminder from their apartment complex that if you don't pay rent today, you're going to start getting late fees and action is going to be taken. So, the first thing that I want to talk about is that typically in a situation, if you cannot pay your rent, they are going to start processing an eviction. But every state is different. But basically on the national level right now, no evictions are allowed to take place. So that means that if you do not pay your rent, your apartment cannot go to the court and file to evict you. So the good news is that if you can't pay your rent right now, you're not going to get evicted. You're not going to get thrown out. Nothing is really going to happen as of right now. So you're safe on that aspect. So because they can't take any consequence, you really shouldn't be sitting in your home stressing out, thinking like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my house, I'm gonna lose my home, I have nowhere to live. Like, you shouldn't be thinking like that, because it's not going to happen. Nobody can kick you out. You're there, you're good. But you should still take this seriously, because even though there's a ban on evictions, that doesn't mean that you don't ever have to pay it back. So let's say this ban, for example, in Maryland is starting until June, it ends in June. If you owe your apartment 3 months of rent, they're gonna file eviction if you haven't been making like partial payments. And you're gonna have to set up like a payment plan to stay in your apartment. So it's just better that if you do have some money, if you've started to receive your benefits, pay what you can to the landlord so you don't owe more when this is all over. But really, it's okay. You should be receiving your unemployment soon. You can use that to pay for some of your rent. So generally speaking, everything's okay. You're gonna get out of the rent in that situation. It's also just so important that immediately you're taking action. So take the time that you have right now in your apartment, in your home, when you would typically be working, to be applying for benefits immediately. It is the government's responsibility to make sure that we still are able to survive without being allowed to work. We are not allowed to work, and the government needs to help us during this time. So there's no reason why you should feel like ashamed to apply for food stamps or cash assistance or unemployment. You were not the one who chose to stop working. You were not the one that chose to shut the economy down. And even in our Constitution, we have the right for domestic tranquility, which basically means that the government is going to protect us from any kind of outside entity or outside factor that could hurt us. So it is the government's responsibility to make sure that we're safe during this time. That's why they did shut down all the restaurants and bars and movie theaters and everything like that. And it's also their responsibility to make sure that we all don't starve or to death during this time. So that's why they passed the stimulus package. It's not a lot, but it's probably going to be enough to pay some of your rent, some of your home expenses, but it's still not enough. You need to be on food stamps so you don't have to spend your stimulus check on food. You need to be on health insurance so you get proper medical care this time. And if you're eligible, you need to be on cash assistance. These are just things that are entitled to you, and it's your right to receive them in this certain situation. So I know there's a stigma on food stamps and cash assistance, and people really look down on it, but you've been paying taxes for a long time, and all the rich corporations have no shame in asking the government for billions of dollars in aid. Okay, and they do this like every 10 years when we have a recession. So there's no reason that you should feel any shame or feel like you failed because you are not allowed to do your job. So really in general, I just know that in these times, like, you can have this feeling that you did something wrong. None of us did anything wrong. This isn't any of our fault, and it's gonna go back to normal. So in the meantime, just make sure that you're doing everything you can with public benefits to support yourself and remind yourself that this wasn't your choice. This is just things happen in the world, and right now we have a pandemic and we can't work because of it, and you shouldn't have to starve because of it. And just because your industry that you're working in is considered non-essential and you don't get paid anymore, that doesn't mean that you're not special or you're not important. Like 40% of our economy is like retail, food, service industry. You're a vital part to our country. Your work was probably where the majority of the government was receiving taxes in order to operate. So you are important, you are essential, and you do not deserve to struggle because of this issue. And every other country that's a first world country in the world is doing help the most to make sure that their citizens are comfortable and safe during this time. And just with the American ethic in general, they aren't like that typically. But in this situation, our country is stepping up. They are going to, give us aid, even if they don't say it out loud, because they never want to encourage people to take aid. They'd rather give it to like billionaires and their friends. This aid is for you, and you need to go apply for it and take it. And you're entitled to it, and you're special. And just because this shutdown happened, like, don't feel like a failure, don't feel like you're gonna lose everything. Don't feel like you can't provide for your family. This is a situation that's beyond our control. And during these times, we just have to rely on our government to solve the problem before we can go back to normal life. So just don't let yourself feel like this is something that is a part of your own failure or a part of your own issue. There's some kind of moral or intellectual issue with you. There's nothing wrong with you for needing this help. And if you do not help yourself, you're going to be in a worse situation. So right now, you know, call your landlord, tell him, hey, I don't have a job anymore. I'm going to pay you back as soon as possible, but this is the situation. Make sure that your landlord knows. Do not be embarrassed. Do not be ashamed. Apply for the benefits that you need to apply for so you don't have to spend your money on food when you could be sending it to your landlord, and just apply for your benefits. And don't feel ashamed about it. And that's all I wanted to tell, you know, people today, because I know it's a scary time, and you just shouldn't be embarrassed about it. You shouldn't be afraid about it, and you shouldn't be afraid for the future, because nobody can throw you out of that house. So right now you just need to focus your time and your energy on, you know, getting the benefits you're entitled to, maybe deciding you want to do a career change, and just figuring out where you want to move on in the future when this is over. But nobody can throw you out of your house. So do not worry, because we're going to all be okay, and we're all going to make it through this together. And yeah, so hopefully tomorrow when I talk with my clients and see how they're doing, I'll think of another topic to cover. And I hope that, like, maybe this made somebody feel better. Maybe this was like information that everybody already had or knew, but I hope that this can be a reminder to not beat yourself up over a financial situation that you can't control. And bye. Thanks.